Breaking news tonight. A woman claiming to be missing Cherrie Mahan, 8 years old, when she vanishes at a bus stop, has emerged. Is this real? What happened to 8-year-old Cherrie? Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us. In the last days, a woman claiming to be Cherrie Mahan, who goes missing at just age 8, has emerged. What happened in the case? I want you to take a listen to this.
Janice and Leroy McKinney hear Cherrie's bus arriving to drop off Cherrie, and Leroy wants to walk down the hill to meet his daughter, but Janice says, wait, it's a nice day, let her walk. 10 minutes pass, and Cherrie hasn't made it up the driveway, so the McKinneys decide to walk down the driveway. As they walk, they don't see Cherrie, nor do they see any of her footprints in the snow leading up the driveway. On the driveway, about 50 yards from the house, they see tire impressions in the snow soil of the driveway.
Joining me an all-star panel, but first I want to go to Molly Miller, crime reporter at the Butler Eagle. Molly, thank you so much for being with us. What exactly do we believe happened the morning Cherrie went missing? I'll get to the woman claiming to be Cherrie in just a moment, but I want to establish what happened.
All we know is that this bluish-green van with the mountain skier on the side was following the bus. She exits the bus with 3 other kids and seemingly starts to walk up the driveway, but at that point, people don't really know where she went. After that, there's no reported sighting from anyone. She's last seen wearing a gray jacket, blue jean skirt, some leg warmers, and some earmuffs, and no clothing is ever found. And her stepdad reportedly came down to check for her just 10 minutes after they heard the bus pull up. So really, it seems as if she's vanished into thin air.
You know, Irv Brandt, I actually think that's a lot of information. Why? Because we have a date and we have a very narrow window of time in which Cherrie disappears. Irv Brandt, you and I have talked about this many, many times. Did you know over 30% of child kidnaps and disappearances have something to do with the school route, either getting to the bus stop, getting on the bus, getting off the bus, walking to school, coming home from school. Do you know over 30% of child kidnaps relate to the school bus or getting to and from school? And I believe that is exactly what happened here.
I agree, Nancy. When cases like this, and it's obviously this child was targeted, this wasn't a kidnapping of opportunity. This appears to be someone, researched this, knew the route, because other children got off the bus at the same time, but she was targeted in particular, and she disappears without a trace. That would lead you to believe, this was pre-planned, and there's no telling how much pre-planning went into it. Obviously quite a bit, because no viable leads were generated right after the kidnapping.
There's a $5,000 reward in the search for Cherrie. I want to go back to Molly Miller, crime reporter at the Butler Eagle. Molly, again, I think we've got a lot of information, even though this case hasn't been solved yet. For instance, very often when a child goes missing, you look at the immediate family, right? You look at mommy, you look at daddy, you look at stepmommy, stepdaddy. In this case, you have the bio mom and the stepfather. They hear the bus arrive. They're waiting for Cherrie to come up the driveway. They see each other, and I have no reason to doubt what the biological mother is saying. Okay? Nothing suggests stepfather stole this child. And another thing regarding the stepfather, who would immediately come under suspicion because the male member of the family is always a suspect until cleared. The 911 is made the alarm is raised so quickly after the school bus stops. As soon as they go out and they see she's not there, they contact police. That narrows the window of time stepdad could have been involved, and this is why. We know exactly what time that school bus was there. We have the little friends that got off the school bus with her. Other people saw the school bus. Then you compare that to the time that she was reported missing. There's not really time for stepdad to take the child, molest her and kill her. There's no time if you look at the timeline, Molly Miller.
Yeah, I mean, there is some speculation because, I mean, it all goes back to that van following the school bus. There's a lot of speculation, actually, that the van itself was just a transport vehicle to another location. It's possible that she was put in another vehicle. There was people seeing a blue compact vehicle in that area at the same time. So it's possible that, number one, there were multiple people involved. And I mean, FBI has done a profile on Cherrie's potential abductor, and it all points back to it had to have been someone she knows to have not raised alarm. And again, in such a short period of time, it's very unlikely that she was afraid of going with this person who did take her.
To Lynn Shaw joining us, founder and executive director of Lynn's Warriors, an organization committed to ending human trafficking and sex exploitation, specifically of children. Lynn, thank you so much for being with us. The first thing I want to do is try to rule out the parents, okay? Why? Because statistically, they or a family member is responsible for missing children, right? That's a given. That's a statistic. And what I'm trying to say is that that's a huge piece of this puzzle. We know the answer. It's not the stepdad. It's not the mother, based on the timeline alone. That's very significant in Cherrie's disappearance. I can't stress it enough. Yes, it opens up a whole nother avenue of inquiry, of investigation, but that's the first hurdle, is ruling out mom, dad, stepmom, stepdad. That's the first thing you do, Lynn.
It's the first thing, Nancy, you do, but the second thing you always do, immediate family members. Now, if you research into Mom Janice's background, she actually claims she was raped. That is how she became pregnant with little Cherrie. There are all kinds of accusations against the father of little Cherrie. The next thing, you have to look at the bus driver. Why aren't we looking more? There have been some reports looking at the bus driver. What about school teachers? I don't understand, Nancy. You're a mom, I'm a mom. The worst thing in the world is your child disappears and nobody seems to know anything. We do know from law enforcement and from all our work at the Warriors, it is most likely somebody that knows Cherrie, a family member. She was 8 years old. She didn't scream. We don't know anything. If the father could hear the school bus up the driveway, he didn't hear anything else. Cars peeling off, the bus taking off. I don't know. I think we have a lot of information here. And for all the Cherries out there, we cannot stop until we explore every single aspect of this case. We have to search for all these missing children.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned the bus driver, and of course you got to look at the bus driver, but by all accounts, the bus driver drove off. He didn't take Cherrie. Although you have to look, when we say someone she knows, that doesn't mean it's the uncle or the grandpa. It could be, as you're saying, a bus driver, a school teacher, a neighbor. How easily could a neighbor have snatched her and taken her into his home, raped her, and murdered her? Very easily. She was gone just like that. So I know we're talking about the potential two-car theory, that multiple people were involved in stealing Cherrie, but I often think, Irv Brandt, that the most obvious answer is the answer. Irv Brandt is joining me, guys, Senior Inspector, U.S. Marshal Service, International Investigations. He was also with DOJ in International Affairs. He has worked all over the world with the U.S. government, including embassies abroad, trying to bring home missing people and catch perps that have absconded. He's the author of a whole series of books about Jack Solo, who I believe is Irv Brandt, specifically Flying Solo, Top of the World, and more. Irv, weigh in on this. And I'm not saying I always think if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, it's a duck. But very often, it is.
You're exactly right, Nancy, and that's where you start an investigation. You start an investigation with the most obvious. It's Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually the correct explanation. So when you're investigating a case, the first thing you look for is to family members. And you're just going on that by past history of cases where, in missing persons cases, family members are usually somehow involved. Then you expand it out to neighbors, to people that know it, like you were talking about, bus driver, teacher, someone like that, someone who knows the routes. And then you expand further. And then eventually you're going to get into complex theories when you start running out of leads or lack of leads. You're going to start venturing into complex theories of multiple vehicles and multiple people and things. And it is possible, but like you said before, it's not likely. And usually the simplest explanation is the correct explanation.
I mean, it's really hard for me to believe that there were multiple kidnappers going after this one little girl, and after all this time, no one has blabbed. It's possible, yes. Probable, no. Although I am very interested in the van. Tamale Miller, crime reporter at Butler Eagle, tell me about the van. We've referred to it, but describe it for me.
So, an initial sketch came out a few days after Cherrie was abducted. It was described by school children as a blue or green van with a mountain scene and skier or skiers painted on the side. There's some discrepancy there. It also had porthole windows in the back. But less than a week after her disappearance, people started speculating that maybe it was a Busch beer van, given the similarity of the landscape on the side. So people were searching into that. Police were searching into it, and they got nearly, over the years, 400 reports of this one van being seen in West Virginia, all across the county, even as close as Pittsburgh. But unfortunately, nothing has been really nailed down as far as the make of the van. The closest speculation people have is it's a 1976 Dodge style van.
And describe what is painted on the side of it?
Yes, so people are saying it's a mountain scene, specifically one peak of a mountain going up the center of the van, almost overlapping the windows. And this would be a white mountain, blue background, and then a skier going down the side. It appears to be the left side of the slope. People are saying it's either painted on or it was decaled on and stuck on.
Please join us on our mission to find missing people, especially children, to solve unsolved homicides. If you're on the go, catch us on your favorite podcast app where you can get all of our content where we, in our own way, seek justice. Parents call police immediately, which even narrows the timeline more. The timeline in which this 8-year-old little girl could be snatched off the bus. In the last days, a woman claims she is Cherrie. Listen.
A woman logs on to the Memories of Cherrie Mahan Facebook page claiming to be the little girl last seen walking from her school bus to the driveway of her house. Cherrie's mother, Janice McKinney, sees the post and contacts the Pennsylvania State Police. The state police have their own contact with the woman when she leaves them a voicemail making the same claim. She is Cherrie Mahan. Janice McKinney knows better than to get her hopes up, as 3 other women have come forward previously making the same claim.
Oh my stars. Let's just put the family through more pure hell by a woman claiming to be Cherrie. Or is she? Molly Miller joining us, investigative reporter at the Butler Eagle. Molly, tell me about this woman now claiming she's Cherrie.
Well, as she said, she logs in to the public Facebook forum, Memories of Cherrie Mahan, and the post literally just reads, "I am Cherrie Mahan," and has a phone number that actually comes out from Tennessee. And then she, I guess, has some back and forth with some people in the forum and becomes very aggressive. The posts have since been taken down, but one of the administrators of the page said that because of the aggression of the comments, there was cause for suspicion. She did leave a voicemail with police, but then wouldn't respond to any returning calls. A couple days later, police actually said that they were able to review fingerprints from this woman calling herself Cherrie, but it was not a match.
This has happened many times in the past in other missing child cases. Isn't it a simple matter of DNA? Listen.
Investigating the recent online post and a voicemail message left with the state police from a woman claiming to be Cherrie Mahan, investigators go to work trying to verify the claim. Reaching out to the woman at the phone number and address she left, Pennsylvania State Police investigators fail to make contact with the woman at the phone number and address provided by the person. However, investigators obtain fingerprints for the name of the person left by the caller, and they are not a match with Cherrie Mahan. The search continues.
So that match, or mismatch in this case, is made from taking the woman claiming to be Cherrie Mahan and comparing it to known prints, a little girl, Cherrie. Your fingerprints don't change. Your fingertips may grow from childhood, obviously, but the swirled patterns on your fingertips never change. No one has a perfect match to your fingerprints, even if you're an identical twin. As I said, this has happened so many times in the past. People coming forward claiming their high-profile missing child. I guess one of the most famous of those cases would be that of little girl Maddie McCann. Listen.
The search for Maddie McCann seems to be over as a woman on Facebook claims to be the little girl who disappears from a hotel room while on vacation with her parents. Julia Wendell takes a DNA test that proves she is 100% Polish and not Maddie McCann. But that doesn't stop Wendell from showing up at a memorial service to commemorate the anniversary of Maddie's disappearance, hoping to get Kate and Jerry McCann to provide a DNA sample that the hoaxer claims will prove she is their missing daughter. Wendell has done this before, claiming to be a missing German schoolgirl and a missing American toddler.
Oh my stars. What a fake. You know, Irv Brandt joining us, you have traveled the world finding missing people and apprehending convicts and fugitives. The Maddie McCann case blew up when Maddie was taken from a vacation rental. And her parents have led a search for Maddie for years. And then this woman jumps up claiming she's Maddie McCann. Do you recall this?
That's correct, Nancy. As you know, and I know, in these high-profile cases, you get a lot of disturbed people calling in and their need for attention. And it has, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but you have to follow every lead, and you got to disprove this. And it's part of the job, and it's a waste of time, and it's a waste of resources, but it's something that has to be done every single time.
Yes, Maddie McCann's faker, the impersonator pretending to be Maddie, causing all sorts of pain to Maddie's parents, that happened. But that's not the only faker. Does the name Timothy Pitson ring a bell? Listen.
Timothy Pitson's mother checks him out of his kindergarten class and takes the 6-year-old boy on a vacation where they go to a zoo, a night at a resort, and a water park, while the boy's father and police frantically search for the pair. Amy Fry Pitson is tracked down to a hotel where she's found dead by suicide with a note that says Timothy is safe with people who love him and, quote, you'll never find him.
But, of course, recently, someone emerges claiming to be Timothy. Listen.
The search for Timothy Pitson goes cold shortly after his mother is found dead. His father, James Pitson, believes Amy Fry Pitson gave the boy to someone, and he believes Timothy will return to him. 8 years later, a teenage boy is found wandering around Newport, Kentucky. He tells police his name is Timothy Pitson. Family and friends rejoice, but in less than 24 hours, police determine it's a hoax. The man claiming to be Timothy Pitson is an ex-con recently released from prison for burglary and vandalism, Brian Reaney. Reaney is sentenced to 2 years in prison for the hoax.
Straight back to Lynn Shaw joining us, founder and director of Lynn's Warriors. I wonder what motivates people to pretend they're the missing child all these years later. And it breaks my heart that Cherrie's mom tries to, quote, not get her hopes up when she hears that someone has emerged claiming to be Cherrie. That means that she is so at the end of her rope, so beaten down, she doesn't even dare to hope anymore.
I have so many questions, Nancy. First of all, people seek attention, especially in the last 2 decades with the internet. Everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame. I have so many questions, such as there's the Cherrie Mahan Facebook group. There's lots of Facebook groups with missing children. I want to know why this particular woman, as far as we know, it's a woman, is claiming to be Cherrie. Why is she on that Facebook group? I also want to know, what if this woman claiming to be Cherrie, who gave the name to the police, the phone number to the police, what if she just gave another person's name? So, of course, the fingerprints aren't going to match at all. I have so many questions. I go back to even the van. The first thing I do is pull in a garage somewhere and get rid of the van very locally nearby and switch off. It has to be in this circle of somebody Cherrie knows. And the other thing is the internet. The internet, we have to keep talking about it, as great as it is, and it's not going away. It is fueling these people to come forward just to say and get their kicks. And that's the way I have to put it. Kicks. We have a well-documented mental health crisis in the United States, and now people have found a new avenue of tormenting parents and family members of missing kids. And there are a lot of Cherrie stories out there, and it has to be more well vetted. The other thing I want to leave you with, we have so much advances in DNA, as everybody knows. What about the advances? We work with a lot of great tech people. If this person was on that Facebook page, they should be able to go back and track that URL, where she was communicating from. So I have lots of questions, Nancy, that need answers.
Speaking of DNA, I wonder if Cherrie's DNA has been added into the DNA database. It's not hard to do. You don't have to have a buccal swab or give your blood in order for there to be a DNA profile of you. It's simply a matter of parents using her hairbrush or her toothbrush or items of her clothing or sheets that may have her hair or skin follicles or skin on that. To Irv Brandt, that would be a major step forward to find out if her DNA is in a DNA databank.
I agree, Nancy. Scientific evidence is some of the best evidence. When we're talking about fingerprints, fingerprints are 100% reliable. If you have someone claiming to be, or someone you think to be the missing person, 100% can be done through fingerprints, and same way with DNA. So if you can put the DNA into the database, and you could possibly get hits, and it just generates more leads for you to follow.